Could you tell me what you think has been your greatest achievement?
I was dreading a question like this.
Why's that?
Oh, come on, I've never been a big achiever, captain of this and that. Should I make something up?
Not a good idea. But it's quite in order to make a lot out of a little.
My immediate response is ask me in 20 years' time. But you're not going to let me get away with that, are you?
Making it to university and being set to achieve a 2-1.
Why are you proud of that?
Because I'm the first person in my family to go to university.
What obstacles did you have to overcome?
I had difficulty with one of my A-levels. Halfway through the course, it was touch and go whether I'd make it.
Why was that?
I chose a bad subject. I either had to stick with it or go for another option and squeeze 2 years' work into 1 year, which I did.
Do you generally drop things when they're getting too difficult?
Not at all.
You must expect to be asked challenging questions. You can't prepare for all of them, but some will be obvious from reading through your application form from an outsider's point of view. Things like gap years and changing courses.
So what does that say about you as a person?
That I like to succeed with the things that I do. And if I can't see any chance of success, I tend to get out.
What else have you worked hard at and succeeded with?
Rock climbing.
Tell me about it.
As well as showing the selectors you're qualified for the position, you also need to give them something to remember you by. Ideally, the interview will allow you to demonstrate your personality. But even if it hasn't, questions about your outside interests let you be enthusiastic.
You told me earlier about the holiday you organised.
Yes.
Now tell me about a time when you've had to work in a team, but you weren't leading it.
On my final year project, 3 of us had to research a topic and then give a presentation.
What did you do?
The project compared river valleys in Devon for pollution, summer and winter flow rates, amenity value and so on. Would you like to know more about it?
Tell me about the teamwork.
The student who was most computer literate handled data analysis. The one with the best eye for detail looked after literature searches. And I conducted surveys and measurements.
How did you get this role?
I think it was because I was the least shy about going up to people and getting permission to go on their land to sample river water.
How did you handle disputes among team members when they arose?
There was only one occasion when feelings ran a bit high. That was when we had to...
Fidgeting and other nervous behaviour will distract the selector from what you're saying and may give the opposite effect to the one you want. Try to appear relaxed, even when you're under pressure.
Well, my next question is very different. I want you to imagine that you're working as a consultant for the Department of Transport. A directive has come down from Brussels that, to harmonise with the rest of Europe, this country has to change over to driving on the right. You're advising them on introducing this change. How would you approach the task?
How can anyone prepare for a question like this?
You can't, and there isn't a right or wrong answer. We're looking to see how your mind works, how logical your reasoning is, and how good you are at coming up with fresh ideas.
Right. Firstly, I'd find out if other countries have done it, and what problems they had. You'd need to find out what people think about it, and then try to persuade them it's a good idea. It would take an immense amount of planning. We'd need off-road driving schools, with simulators, so that motorists can get used to the new style of driving.
Why have you applied to us?
I met representatives of your organisation at a careers fair and was impressed with what they told me about the way graduate trainees are offered responsibility, variety and opportunities. The annual report talks about a number of interesting new areas you're moving into. And although there are rival organisations, yours is always in the news. You're doing new things, and I find the culture more attractive than any of the others.
Well, it's getting close to the end of the interview. Are there any questions you'd like to ask me?
Careful. It's all too easy to give the idea that you haven't done enough research into the job or the organisation.
So what can I ask?
As part of your research before you get in here, it's an idea to prepare a list of questions. Write it on a card.
On the graduate training scheme, are all trainees promoted at the same pace, or is there scope for competition in the first 2 years?
You don't have to ask any questions, but to show you're not lacking in imagination, you could say that the brochure and the presentation have answered everything you wanted to know.
And my final question. What will you do if you aren't successful in your application to this organisation?
We all know that I'm applying to other organisations. Is this designed to see how I'd take rejection?
It's a way of testing your commitment to join our organisation and to do this job. So you have to play the game and appear determined to work for us rather than one of our competitors. It may even be true. It does show whether you take rejection lying down.
I would follow up with a phone call to get feedback on why I'd been rejected. If the reason had been apparent lack of commitment, I would try to persuade you of my determination to work in this sector, and preferably for your organisation.
Well, thank you, Mr. Henshaw. You'll be hearing from us in a fortnight or so.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thanks. Goodbye.